Hey everyone, welcome to Office Hours with Cloud Posse. It is August 12th, 2026, and I'm your host, Eric Osterman. If you're new here, welcome. Every week we break down the latest DevOps news, AWS announcements, and overall infrastructure trends, then answer any of your toughest questions live. But before we jump in, quick intro. I'm the founder and CEO of Cloud Posse. We build open source tools and commercial products that help engineering teams deliver infrastructure the same way everywhere. One of those tools is called Atmos, which helps teams scale their infrastructure without introducing dozens and dozens of other new tools. It consolidates all of that into one declarative DSL. Sorry, I was just getting distracted here by more of the bots in the channel. Um, yeah, so to learn more about Atmos, go to atmos.tools and check it out. A quick note on how to get the most out of today's session. The format's informal. You can engage as much as you'd like and ask questions. And if you're curious about any of our open source tools like Atmos, this is a great place to ask. If you're watching the recording, keep in mind these calls happen live, so don't miss out. You can join us for future sessions by registering at cloudposse.com/office hours. We send a weekly invite to each call. One small ask, if you find any portion of today's session valuable, you should share it with your team. You can find the recording on YouTube. We post it just a few hours after the call. So with that said, let's see what caught my attention this week here. So first, yeah, Paul shared Lambda announced AWS Lambdas running outside of VPCs can now scale up to 3,000 megabits of traffic. Uh, that's serious traffic served out of Lambda. I can, I wish I had those kind of problems. Anyone like the only use case I could think is streaming, but you'd have a Lambda for one stream. So I don't where do you need that? What is a use case for me to think about where I would need that kind of bandwidth?
There is an interesting project that someone did a few months ago to demonstrate how fast it was possible to copy objects in S3 from one bucket to another. And it was kind of sort of a competition. One of the solutions did use Lambda, and presumably it was network bound. But yeah, it does seem high. But I'm glad to see development of non-VPC or improvements for non-VPC Lambdas because they're so much faster to spin up and spin down and just easier in every way. Most people don't need VPC Lambda, so that's kind of why I noted this. But I haven't tried the service quota increase, but I've had trouble getting service quotas increased for other, like for parallel executions and other things that really matter in Lambda. So I'd be curious if other people have requested this quota change because you have to request it.
Yeah. I can just picture the Amazon engineer who's participating in that competition and pulls out the ultimate trump card, upgrades the whole service to support scaling up to 3K megabits. All right, that was that one. So I thought this was interesting only because we had talked about Herder last week on Office Hours. And then a day or two later, I saw that they got accepted into Y Combinator. So they're going to be turning it into a real business through that. Herder, if you're not familiar, is one of the many multiplexers for your agents. It takes a slightly different approach from what is it? CMUX. Jeremy, you are you on the call this week, Jeremy? No. All right. Yeah, so Jeremy was the one who brought it up. I don't know too much about Herder, haven't tried it. Anyone know more about this? All right.
Yeah, hi, Eric, can you hear me?
Yep, now I hear you, John.
Second time here. Sorry for jumping in. So
No
I've
worries.
been I I hop um these things like distros and so I've been using Herder now for maybe a month and mainly because I like the way I can do remote sessions. I know you guys talked about in the past how I think some of them aren't, I believe you guys did, that they're not that good. but they have a way to connect over uh, the herder, and it has use a client server, so you
Hmm.
get some more like copy and paste native. You can do it over Mosh, I
Hmm.
believe. Um, and
Does
for
it
those that
support
go ahead.
does it support any of the sandbox providers like exe.dev and or Cloudflare, I think
Ooh.
has it. And,
I'm not sure. I do know that they have a relatively good plugin mechanism, so
mhm.
maybe that's how they do it. But from all of them,
Oh
I
yeah.
think I really, really like it. So it's pretty stable. It adjusts if you're on the go using your phone, which I'll admit is not ideal, but if you had to, it's pretty cool. And it comes with all the tmux stuff built in. So
So there's a Herder mobile app as well.
no,
Oh,
but you just pick your terminal app that you use. It's cool seeing these mobile apps pop up with built-in herder or other terminal compatibility.
huh.
So I think the one that I'm using, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was, oh, I can't remember it. I don't have my phone on me, but some of these mobile apps will have herder built in natively. So it runs the herder command instead of just SSHing into the box. It's pretty
Hmm.
cool. And then the last thing is it'll do like the agent stuff. So it comes with a skill and you can get your harness to spawn up, spin up um, other sessions. I have a hard time determining whether that's better than just the sub agent that's built into whatever harness you're using, but it'll
Yeah.
open up a terminal, I mean, a new panel for you, stuff like that. It's been pretty cool. And I've tried a lot of them, so that's it.
Well, and that's actually kind of interesting. I like that idea where, well, I mean, you bring up a good point. Like many of the agent harnesses can spin up their own agents, but it's a little bit opaque and you can't necessarily see what they're working on or do
Right.
any easy steering there.
Mhm.
So I like the idea when it can use the harness itself to like launch another workspace where you can actually interact with that agent, but it dispatches it and closes it when it's done.
Yeah, I'm not advocating for it, right? But then because you're using the harness instead of the other things, you can get around stuff like the limitations on um, for instance, for whatever reason, my company uses the Kiro CLI because it's
Hmm.
free money, and they don't give an API key. So I can use the herder as a wrapper to spin up sessions and call the Kiro client. And one thing that's cool is it saves all your sessions inside of herder, so you can see what they did retrospectively. Pretty cool.
That is cool. I didn't know that about Kiro. So Kiro, you can only use, there's no way to use Kiro outside of Kiro.
They don't have an API key. Well, they
Hmm.
don't let you. They don't want you to run it agentically.
Yeah. Seems a little bit dated these days. Um, like the whole cursor model. Even cursor's gone this way where you can now run it agentically. All right. So this was interesting. If you can't beat them, join them. So Pulumi has been arguing and fighting why they don't support, HCL for the last, I don't know what it is now, 8 years, 5 years. It's got to be more than that. Um, now because of AI, presumably, it is so much easier just to build the harness that calls Terraform providers. So now Pulumi speaks native HCL, works with all the Terraform providers, and now it is a comprehensive solution where, if you bring Pulumi in, you can truly pick whether you want to write HCL, kind of eliminating the language wars, if you will. Um, or write in the language du jour of your team, and that it supports. I think it's a smart move by Pulumi all in all. And I don't know that it changes our position or like what we're doing at all, but I think I support them supporting. Any thoughts on this? Also, it provides a smooth transition path, right? Because you can just bring all your own existing Terraform, start running it presumably on Pulumi Cloud, and then new things can be developed or rolled out through other languages. So one of the things I don't know, it doesn't work well for me personally is using the Claude extensions for Chrome and having it use that for validating or testing. Also, it's very slow. Also, there's the security implications that if it's using your Chrome session, that it has access to whatever you have there or plugins, etc. So for doing any of this kind of stuff at scale or for testing, there's been a popular solution called kernel.sh. We've talked about it here on office hours before. It's basically a full-fledged browser at an API, um, and it also has a lot of anti-bot detection mechanisms built into it. I don't know how sustainable that is moving forward, but they do attempt some of that today. Well, now Cloudflare is introducing the same kind of service or same kind of product called Kitesurf. It's not, I think technically they also support Chrome, but what makes this one in particular interesting is that it's built on a new V8 engine, which is compiled to Wasm and runs throughout their entire cloud. It's not designed to be a drop-in replacement for anything like Chrome. It's not designed to run plugins, but it is designed to properly render web pages and be used agentically more efficiently. So, um, and it's free right now. It's a part of an offering called Browser Run. Browser Run supports Chromium and Chrome or Chromium, I don't remember which, and this new Kitesurf. I was kind of hoping that this was something that I could run locally as a lightweight alternative to Chrome. For my agents to use, but it's strictly a cloud service. We don't is Jeremy here yet? No, Jeremy is not here. I think, yeah. Yeah, so we also talked about Nix a fair bit on the show. Last year, they had started um, governance group for Nix packages to provide transparency and a fair, policy-backed way of approving packages or resolving disputes and so forth. Well, it just turned out to be too much work, too complicated. So that governance group has disbanded now. I've not heard more from it. I'm not actively a user myself, so I don't have too much context here. That's what I was hoping. So, anyone here following this closer than I am? All right. Anyways, it's not putting anything in jeopardy. Nix is still Nix. Nix packages are still Nix packages. Nothing changes. It was just the risk, or just it was just this governance board, committee that was getting disbanded.
The only thing I have was I know that some people use the Nix packages to do like to set up a new computer.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
is that what everybody else is using? Well, not all the time, but are people using that regularly?
I think it's gotten a lot more popular lately, especially with what is it called? There's a new Nix for local dev project. Um,
This has only become interesting to me as start to acquire these little mini boxes for my agents. I was wondering, I
Yeah.
was actually trying to use Mize to standardize it, but I did come across this.
Yeah, let me close some windows here. Yeah, so this is what I was thinking. I have too many windows that are tricking me into clicking on them. Hold on, let me close some windows here. You guys don't see this, but it's annoying the heck out of me. All right. All right. So yeah, so devenv is what I was thinking of, and I think others here are using it too. It's come up on office hours, and it is a mixed flavor for local development to facilitate it, and you can use it on local Macs as well as Linux, I believe.
Cool.
And you know, I I wouldn't be doing my job if I also didn't say that, Atmos is pretty awesome for local development tool too, and is an alternative to Mies as well for package management, but also an alternative to just files, task files, make files. It's an alternative to Grunt, TerraGrunt, TerraTeam, TerraMate. It's an alternative to all of these things in one tool. So you don't need to have 25 tools just to get a simple job done or anything like that.
Oh, believe me, Mr. Eric, I've seen you, and I've actually it's coming. You're doing good because it's every time I listen to you, think about jumping over it just to use it for not necessarily the Terraform stuff, but to see because I really like the tasks that are built into Mize to try to make it CI canned. But again, I know you guys are doing that as well, so um,
Yeah.
I still might give it a try.
I think we have now 50 types of built-in steps, meaning that replaces by itself our steps in our
Mhm.
workflows and custom commands,
Yeah,
replaces 50 different tools. So it's just kind of like I grew up cutting my teeth on Linux and Unix,
yeah.
small utilities, but at some point I just want to stop bash scripting everything and have it work, declaratively. Anyways, we'll see. There are definitely schools of thought on this. So here was something that was shared by Masterpoint and Matt Gowie's team. Something I did not realize was supported by the AWS provider. So what's the problem? Well, many teams start with Terraform and grow a root module to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And at some point, it's just a matter, there's a tipping point. It will happen, guaranteed. You will hit this point if it grows big enough that if you don't hit your memory limits, we've seen Terraform take over 30 gigs of RAM to run, but that's, a separate thing. If you don't hit the memory limits, then you will hit rate limits of the underlying providers. This is one of the practical arguments for, aside from governance and many other reasons why you want to keep your root module smaller. But I rest my case. If you're not going to do that, there's still something, if you're using the AWS provider, you can do. Switch it to this adaptive mode where the AWS retry mode, you can set it to adaptive and it will back off and make a best effort to recover from cloud API rate limits. Note, this is just for AWS. This is not a Terraform setting. This is a provider setting of the AWS provider, I believe. But a good pro tip.
That is really useful. I didn't realize you could pass that setting through from the Terraform AWS provider block. I've posted before a few times about how the SDKs are all seeing changes this year. In fact, I think November will be when the changes are complete. The default retry mode is changing in all of the SDKs, and the new one is upgraded. There were three retry modes, and you could always choose them, but the default now is a more sophisticated one, and it's being improved, and it's still short of the adaptive mode. But people should use this whenever they're directly calling an SDK, and it's really neat to know we can do it in Terraform as well.
I was a little bit confused there. I guess, well, what were the other? There were, I think, two or three modes. for
Yeah,
this?
there's a standard, there's and they have different names depending. Like I use the Python SDK directly most of the time. But there's a standard, there's a legacy, which is the default for most of the SDKs, Python and others. And then
Mhm.
there's the enhanced, which is what Matt is suggesting here. But standard and enhanced are both good. The legacy, which will be the default for some cases, is not good.
Mm.
And this is how you can tell right away when you're looking at AWS API utilities in open source if the people have brains or not. If the retry mode is not set and they're pushing that, it's no good. But now we know we can do it in Terraform too. Or
Yeah.
maybe just Open Tofu. That's another question. Is this well, it's the same provider, so it must be both
Yeah,
Terraform and Open
exactly. It's
Tofu.
got to be supported. It's the same body. Good point. So that's adaptive retries. Someone in sweetops pinged me about this. It's a small project that he put together. I thought it was an interesting or clever idea. Um, so what is it? So this is a controller that you can deploy in your Kubernetes cluster or let me take a step back. Let's say you're trying to run Kubernetes as cheaply and affordably as possible, like for your home labs or things like that. And let's say you don't care about high availability in the sense of like zero downtime, failover, etc. And let's say that for those reasons, you only want to run one pod at a time. And let's say you want to use spot instances, so you further save money. Well, how do you increase the stability of your cluster for certain known events? For example, when there's a spot surge and your capacity is going to be your reservation is going to be pulled from you, you'll have an outage because your Kubernetes cluster is going to have to launch another node, transfer the pod, and so forth. So what he developed is something called understudy, which will temporarily scale up the number of replicas on your pod when the cluster receives a shutdown event for one of the nodes. So it will temporarily become highly available, cause additional instances to spin up. And then once it's all drained and moved over, then it scales that pod back down to one replica, so you don't pay extra money. I thought it was pretty smart. So yeah, that was understudy. Um, let's see, we got Docker sandboxes. So if you're like me, you might be scratching your head. Wait, what? I thought Docker was already kind of like a sandbox. There were already these containers. So what are Docker sandboxes and what's cool about it? Well, I was confused and I looked a little further into it. And what's neat about it is now they've taken what you could do with containers and do it with micro VMs. So each one of these sandboxes actually runs in an isolated VM, making escape harder. Sandboxes, as you know, are more and more ubiquitous with agentic harnesses. Um, I was most recently looking into this because Paperclip, which is something I've been playing with on the side, supports sandboxes now. Unfortunately, Docker sandboxes are not one of the supported backends for Paperclip, but I bet that's only a matter of time. Um, I believe this is a differentiator with like Docker versus like Podman. I don't believe Podman has the same concept of sandboxes, although Podman has Podman machines, which can run a certain number of containers, so you can kind of get a similar outcome. But I don't think Podman machines are lightweight micro VMs either. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, though, please. I think overall feedback on this has been positive from what I've read. Um, I'd like to try it out. Any comments on Docker sandboxes? Okay. Michael shared this in our sweetops office hours channel. He realized that TF-Lint also supports OPA, which is pretty nice as a standard policy language for defining rules in TF-Lint. TF-Lint has a plugin system, so you can enable the OPA plugin here and then get that out of the box. Also, one thing, Atmos also supports hooks. So Atmos is our runner and orchestration framework for everything, software development and infrastructure. And it supports hooks, hooks that can run before events and after events. For example, before a plan or after a plan. And because Atmos supports TF-Lint out of the box, now you can also use OPA with Atmos to enforce those policies out of the box too. One of the neat things with Atmos is it will automatically install your tools at the configured versions you have, including hooks. So if you have a dependency on TF-Lint, Atmos will automatically install TF-Lint for you at the versions you've defined. It's TF-Lint. So I thought this was a smart positioning move by Meta. All the talk these days are by regarding open models and open weight models. They're often incorrectly referred to as open source models, is that they're all coming out of Chinese labs and they're phenomenal, right? They're performing really well, but we have a lack of them domestically here. And Meta is maybe, if you can't beat them, join them. In this case, or that's maybe the wrong expression, doing a phase shift. So rather than going the path of, Anthropic, Cursor, Grok, Gemini, OpenAI, etc., with proprietary models that are not open weight, why don't they become one of the preeminent US-based open models? And they're launching first now with, well, I mean, this is not their first release of open models, but they're coming, it's a return or a retreat back to it. And this is a model now optimized for local coding agents, and it will run on your laptop. It works with as little as 1 GPU, and I think as little as 20 gigs of RAM. So I'm excited to try that out. Thoughts on this? All right, next. This was trending this week on Hacker News. I don't know. It's a press piece by Google just saying, it's a love letter to why Go is an ideal language for agentic development. I think a lot of the same arguments can be made for other languages. That doesn't make this wrong. But yeah, it is a vote of confidence by Google that they're happy with the choice. Some of the things that stand out is that Go code is easy to read. Go code has its own tool ecosystem that is consistent. So, everything from formatting the code to linting it is done the same way under the same Go binary. And the LLMs tend to be very good at writing Go code. And I don't disagree, but I can't contrast it personally since most of my time is spent in Go. Thoughts on this before we move on? So this was a post by PostHog on basically how they address the next bottleneck that is affecting engineering teams. And I bet many of you feel this yourselves at the companies you work at. I know we experience it here at Cloud Posse as well. So AI has made code very cheap. More people are contributing to the process. Hopefully you're all practicing a proper code review pull request process. But therein lies the rub, because while writing the code has certainly sped up, reviewing it is still a bottleneck for many organizations. I know what we use is CodeRabbit, and CodeRabbit has been phenomenal but I'm always looking for, I say, CodeRabbit is phenomenal, but it's not a silver bullet. Um, it's not a substitute for what I'm calling field testing, which is a way to actually run it as the user would run it to uncover the UX, DX, documentation gaps, etc., that any user would encounter. And I don't think CodeRabbit is actually quite good at that part at all. So they talk about what they're doing at PostHog, and some things stood out. So one, what I liked about this post is they give their actual examples. These are their actual agents and skills that they have developed for their purpose. I don't think you can copy them wholesale. I started looking at them and they wouldn't work for us, but I got a lot of ideas out of it that I want to adopt. If for no other reason, validation and how they broke it out into different agents and their responsibilities, which aligned with some of the things that we're doing in our own Atmos project. The other thing I thought was interesting was, well, yes, this babysitting loop. We called it a PR maintenance loop, but one of these things where it just helps you sit on top of your pull requests until all the checks are passing, until all the reviews are satisfied, and fixing any flaky tests and ensuring test coverage is up to par with what you need, and doing that in a loop so that when you come back and review the sessions, you're looking at something that is mostly good to go. Now, that brings up another point, though. That gets very expensive if you're using, the frontier models to do any of that. So what stood out here when I was looking at their skills under the hood, they are actually using a lot of open weight models at post hog for this. GLM 5.2 was one that stood out. And I think that is a good example. So the other realization they had in implementing this was that first, I think they said, if I'm not getting my wires crossed, I read a lot about this lately. I think it was this post, which was that they were using things like Fable to do the first round of testing, but that's incredibly expensive. So instead, what they did is they inverted it. They used the cheapest models to try and fix all the bugs and the low-hanging fruit first that you can find. And then as a final pass, putting a premium model on top of it to do a final check. The other thing that's I thought was funny, I've seen this at so many companies, and it was a good name for the channel. Not okay. So they have a Slack channel. I think they call it Stamp Exchange, and this is where like you want to get your work done. You need a PR review. It's a small pull request. You just basically need someone to stamp it, right? They do a quick look. But it's not going to take a lot of brain power to review it. So they actually had a channel for that. One of the things they've done, though, is automate that stamp approval process leveraging AI. And I could see that being more feasible because the scope and risk of a small change is more reasonable. And so they call that their stamp hog, which is their bot that does that. Thoughts on this? All right. They had even built a leaderboard for their stamp exchange program. And one of the last things that caught my attention today was AWS added application status checks for EC2 instances. Um, I think previously you could have done something similar. They've just made it easier to do now. I have not looked more. Paul, your domain.
I'm not aware of it yet. I've been out of the loop. I will check into it and report back next week.
All right, sounds good. All right. A couple Atmos updates here. So we are working on an Azure engagement right now. Expect a lot of improvements to Atmos around Azure support. One of the first things is that we extended the automatic backend provisioning support in Atmos. Previously, it only supported AWS S3. We built it as an interface, so it was extensible, but we didn't implement the others. So now we support Azure backend provisioning automatically in Atmos. Why is that interesting? If you use Terraform, before you can do anything, you need a state backend. But Terraform itself does not manage the state backend. So what you can do is you create a Terraform module that you provision to create the backend, but you need state for the Terraform module that you use to provision that backend. So what a lot of teams will do in this situation is instead you create a shell script that disables the backend, provisions it, and then re-imports the state back into that as a bootstrapping process. Totally reasonable. I get it. We've done that for the last 10 years. Now in Atmos, though, we don't need to do that anymore because now what we do in Atmos instead is Atmos creates the backend automatically. And then we can pass that as an input for an import in Terraform. So we can one-shot create a proper Terraform state backend in Atmos with Terraform in one shot using this. So one of the nice things that we saw in Atmos. Questions on this before I move on? And this is just an example. So in Atmos, you configure your backend. And then if you set this provision backend enabled and you run and then you run Terraform and the backend doesn't exist, Atmos automatically creates it for you. It checks and uses the underlying cloud SDK to create the bucket. All right. Another thing we did, this was feedback. We recently not dusted off. We recently did a massive overhaul on our AI skills for Atmos. This included making it easier to install them depend on whatever your agent harness is. So for example, in Atmos, you can just run Atmos AI skill install, and you could specify which agent harness you're using, or it will auto detect which ones you are using. And then it'll let you select which ones to install the skills. You select those, you hit enter, and bam, Atmos installs the skills. The oversight was we didn't provide a way to update those. So we added now a skill update command so it can help you keep those skills up to date. All right. So that's that for Atmos updates. What I would expect for next week or the next thing, we are working on migration guides. We're putting migration guides together for all the direct Terraform task runner alternatives, things like Terramate, Terragrunt, and so forth. So proper migration guides and proper migration skills, I should say. So agentic skills that help you migrate your projects into Atmos. And then we're extending that to other things that Atmos replaces. So Atmos skills for makefile conversions, Atmos skills for task file and just file conversions, Atmos skills for TFEnv, Terraform env, TM, Mise or Mise, I don't know how you say it, Aqua, etc. So you can migrate all of that into Atmos as well. And a few other migration guides I'm blanking on right now. The idea is that we want to have these migration guides or these migration skills make it very easy to get up and running on day one with Atmos. And all of that is possible because Atmos is declarative for everything. It lets you define the entire SDLC, including how you operate and get up actions and so forth in a declarative manner. So that lends itself to a skill library. So more on that next week. All right, that's all I got. Any other announcements we should discuss today? Any cool projects? I haven't checked the chat here. Let me see. Okay, so yeah, the mobile app for Herder shared here. Herder remote. Yeah, looks like what I was looking at. RD, is this something you've been using? Oh, I think they had to leave. Um, and what is this drover steel?
Yeah, I'm not using it, Eric. It was just I just wanted to show an example of these apps that are popping up.
Oh, okay. Oh, and this one is for herder too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, so I use a tool called Conductor. They have a mobile app supposed to be coming out any day now, but I guess it fits in this class as well. Yeah, hoping to get a chance to check that out soon. Okay. So I have not looked into, well, I mean, I've not looked into using specifically Proxmox or micro VMs. I am using a Mac Mini, if that counts. Anyone else? I know Jeremy White, who's not on the call, does a lot with sandboxes. All right. Any other topics today? Questions? All right. Let's see. Anything I can cover? Hmm. Well, it's open mic. Anyone have questions or things they want to talk about? All right. Well, if that's it, we'll wrap up a little early today. Going once, going twice. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll call it quits for today. Give you back a few minutes of your day. We will be posting this recording in just a few hours. If you ever need any help, the way we support Cloud Posse is through commercial support. You can find out the different ways we can support by going to cloudposse.com/support. That includes support for Atmos and our open source Terraform module ecosystem. We publish our office hours as a podcast as well. So, however you listen to podcasts, you can catch up on the back catalog of episodes. And if you want to get involved with what we are up to here, join our Slack team first. Go to cloudposse.com/Slack. The office hours channel is where we share the links that we discuss each week. If you haven't registered for the live sessions, go to cloudposse.com/office hours where you can register, enter your email, and you'll get an email every week with our join link. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel to get updates. We post these office hours there, and we have a newsletter. It's we try and send it out monthly when I catch up. So register now, and you'll get the next edition. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate you being part of our community, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Thank you.